Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. Two easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got author Eldon Sprickerhoff with me. So welcome, Eldon.
Nice to be here. Very, very pumped about this.
I could have said entrepreneur. You've done a lot of different things, but you're here today
Yeah,
talking about a book, so I went with author.
true enough. I think I refuse to be categorized with such with single, simple words. I have a lot of different projects and things that I've done throughout
Yeah, you've
my
had
life.
a lot of irons in the fire.
Indeed, a lot of like cat juggling, cats and barbells and chainsaws and bowling pins.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, talk a little bit. Let's start that way. Tell us a little bit about your background. What do you do and what led you to write this book?
Sure. So uh, I I really I always have a lot of difficulty describing myself. I have a lot of curiosity, and
Yeah.
I'm a voracious reader. My sort of historical piece has been in tech, but I've got a degree in mathematics, computer science, economics, but always
All
loved
the exciting
uh,
fields.
all the really exciting fields. Yes, yeah. Um, but I always took English courses as well in school. So just loved reading. A lot used to do a lot of sort of outdoor things, climbing and canoeing and things like
Oh,
this. And
come to West
um,
Virginia. We got you covered.
I've done a little climbing many years ago. When the hair was thicker and darker, and I had I had a lot of more youthful energy
Yeah.
down in West Virginia. The I started a company about 20-ish years ago. That was the tech. I lived in New York for a bit, working on working in a prime broker, building some technical capabilities for security.
Yeah.
Um, was down there in 9/11, came back after 9/11 and started this other company up in Canada. Uh, and didn't purely information security, cybersecurity wasn't even a term that was used back then.
Right.
Um, but like it didn't have any business acumen whatsoever, and just started dove into it and just kept grinding on it. And um, that was 20 plus years ago. And so about 3 4 years ago, started working with an accelerator that was local on that did cybersecurity startups, and it made me realize uh, how much that I'd learned about building a business in that meantime. And um, as an entrepreneur in residence at this accelerator, I would work with literally dozens and dozens of startup founders who also did not like came from a technical background without business acumen. Um, and the whole idea at the beginning was to ask, I was a technical resource. I figured they'd ask me technical questions. What actually happened was out of 10 questions anyone would ask, one was technical and the nine were business related.
Right.
And so I was like, I didn't know about
Well,
this. I
because
don't
they
have an
knew the tech
MBA.
side. It's the business, like
Exactly.
most of us, it's the business side we need help with.
Exactly. So that's exactly what happened. It was like, and so I had a chance to, well, two things. One, as a mentor, you get really tight with these people that you're mentoring, um, and so they would bring their business problems to me, and I had this sort of this moment where it was, yeah, I had that very same problem. This is what I would do, um, and at the same time, it sort of was digging around in the skeletons in the closet of all the trauma of the first 10 years of a startup, which can be terrible, right? There's so many startups just fail because of many different problems with whether it's co-founder conflict or money issues or things like this. Just never managed to get the traction that's needed to survive. And so as I'm helping them with this, each cohort that would come in, it was 8 or 9 different companies. They would all be asking the same questions over and over and over again. So few technical, but all business. So I started writing down my answers, and that was also a bit of therapy for myself as I'm addressing
Yep.
the skeletons that the bodies that I thought I'd buried decades ago.
Yeah, I love that. All of it, because the easy part of a business is the knowledge of what you're doing. Most of us decide, okay, I think I'm pretty good at this. I think I'm going to go into business. You already know that part, but actually marketing and running a business, that's not easy. And that's where most people fail.
And I think the other side is that there's so much, you know, um, sort of entrepreneur porn, which is everything is going to be, supercars and private planes
It's easy.
and all of this stuff, right? The big, multi-million pre-seed raise and all of that look, and even there's TV shows where people go on and pitch and, 5 minutes later they've got a deal, right?
Right.
And so that's not reality, right?
No.
That's not reality. But that is commonly what's seen. And so then, when people are there in the arena, trying to do their startup and it's not working out the way that it happened on TV or in media, yeah, then they get really depressed. And this is part of that, you got that initial excitement about, the enthusiasm of starting something,
Yeah.
and then reality kicks in, right? And I made the analogy, it's like having a kid. When you decide that you want to have a kid, the lead up is pretty exciting. Um, the lead up is a lot of fun as compared, to the first evening where the kid is crying and you know
Right.
and you don't get any sleep for the first several months and so on. That's that same kind of thing, that the same enthusiasm with starting a family. The first kid is very much the same as starting a business.
I like that analogy, because it really is, because it's exciting and fun when you're talking about starting up a business.
Exactly. That's the thing. A marriage, right? Or you're going to have a family. You've got one co-founder, right? And you're committed to it, and it sounds really good. You've got division of duties and all of that, and you've got a plan as how it's going to turn out.
Yep.
Um, and you see the pictures of the beautiful kid that's sleeping so beautifully, and you don't get Instagram videos of 2 a.m. feeding.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they don't advertise really, how young parents especially look after a couple of months with a newborn.
Yes, yes. They have that, 1,000 yard stare of okay, get apocalypse now, right? I needed a mission, and for my sins they gave me that, right?
They're just trying to survive, and we all go
It,
through
it,
it.
exactly. And that's, what's funny is when I started the company, 6 months before that, we had our first kid.
Yeah,
So they're really,
that's bad timing.
inextricably linked. It's well, it was um you know there's just things that you decide to go with it, right? You
Yeah.
can't I'm not sure there is a perfect time for anything.
No, there's not. And that's a lot of times that's what keeps people from trying to do something, because they're waiting for that perfect time. It never comes.
It will never
Got to
come.
dive
It
in.
will never come. Yeah.
Although maybe it was that little period that we were all trapped at home. Maybe that was the time to start something.
Yeah,
to work on stuff.
well, look, so I'll tell you, when I started the company, it was, end of 2001.
Yeah.
So, you're old enough to remember what that was like, right? That's the dot bomb era where, massive, not depression, but, massive recession,
Yeah.
right? So the dot bomb sort of part of it already started early 2001, and
Yeah.
9/11 basically, you know, fell the final blow in that, right? And, it's,
Well, internet was just starting up.
it was, yeah, well, but the promise of the internet, that was again, the excitement of all that. And then reality kicked in where, there was not, it didn't seem to have a decent go to market for, shipping, 50 pounds of dog food for $2, right? The market
Right.
didn't, right? And all of that craziness, right? That froth at the time.
You know,
Uh,
when I in the '90s, I put myself through college. I owned a couple comic book stores, and I closed them when Marvel went bankrupt in '96. I was like, it's over. But
right.
right about that time was when eBay started. It was
Yep. Yep.
pre-Amazon, and I remember those days of just selling everything I had out of the stores, and I did great at that time because the market wasn't flooded yet. But then a few
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
that, Amazon started, and now it's if it kind of, my opinion is Amazon and those type of online stores, they killed collecting, because now if you want something and you're willing to pay for it, just go buy it. You don't have to search
Click,
for it.
click.
Yeah.
It made it a lot easier, right? But like even back then, the survival of Amazon was not guaranteed
No, it was not.
in at the end of
Well,
2001, right? There was
when it
still,
first started, there was a company. I don't know if you remember this. There was a company in between eBay and Amazon called half.com. And it was kind of like an eBay for books. And when
yep,
Amazon
yep,
first started up, it was pretty similar to that. It
yep,
was
yep,
mostly
yep,
books. And then it just,
yep,
kind of exploded from there.
yep, yep. Again, I remember Amazon again for so many years they were not profitable at all,
Right.
right? And this is far before they spun up AWS and everything that goes along with it, right? It was not a foregone conclusion that they were going to be successful.
No, no, it's kind of remarkable how far it's come since then.
Uh,
I know, good or bad, a little of both maybe, but
sure. Yeah.
it does make it easy to buy things now.
There's no doubt about that. And also, if you want to buy another one, right? I
Yeah.
bought something 8 months ago.
Oh
I want
yeah.
to buy it again,
Yeah.
right?
Just go and click. There you go.
Yeah,
Then you
and
another one.
they've got their algorithm quite a bit better tuned, I think, in the first days where you joke, let's say I need to buy a toilet seat, and so buy a replacement toilet seat, and 2 weeks later, would you like to buy another
Yeah. Do you
replacement
want
toilet
another
seat?
one?
There's
I'm
So
good.
they,
Thanks.
they've got quite a bit better on the cadence of repeating those things.
Well, so speaking of long titles, right? The book is, let's see, Committed Startup Survival Tips and Uncommon Sense for First Time Tech Founders. That's a
Mm.
mouthful.
Take a deep breath before you say that.
But I love the book because it really does kind of walk you through all of the, I don't know, the obstacles, the pitfalls, everything you kind of need to know to get started. But tell us a little bit about it. What was the final push that made you write the book, and what are you hoping that people get out of it?
I part of it was simply the fact that there's so much, sort of positive spin
Yeah,
in entrepreneurship, and it's simply not realistic. And I think part of it was, if you come in to the to the uh, to the arena, as they sort of call it,
yeah,
and you're not prepared,
right.
the odds of you succeeding are incredibly slim. And it was so it's like I want to be very honest and without hyperbole or exaggeration. this is what it's going to be like. And it's not going to be easy. It's good to be excited,
Right.
but you need to have a certain amount of discipline, recognizing that it's not going to go as easy as you think it's going to be. Everything is going to take a lot longer than you expect. It will be more difficult, and all these sort of pieces that go along. So it's great to be enthusiastic, but you need to practice rational perseverance. Right? That sort of thing, because it's not probably not going to be easy as you think it's going to be. You will have incredible insurmountable wins that come at you that you have to batten down. And
Yep.
it became into this sort of, I think, if you're the CEO or whatever your title is, the idea was, you need to dig in, and the phrase the guy used was to like become a chief survival
I
officer.
know. I like that phrase.
Right, right.
'Cause that
And
fits. If you're
if
starting up a business, you're just trying to survive for a while.
that's exactly it. And part of it, what I would say is, you're, if you're working a job and you're complaining because, I'm not paid what I'm worth, because I guarantee you start a business and you will discover what you are really worth without the framework of the existing company. And, I'd say the first 5 years of my startup, I probably, with the hours that I worked, I probably would have made more as a fry cook at McDonald's,
Yeah.
without a bit of exaggeration. Um,
I totally,
and
I mean,
so
we were that way just with the podcast. It took us almost 5 years to really start to get to the point where like I could quit my day job. After
yep,
5 years, I
yep.
was able to quit my day job. But most people don't have the patience to wait 5 years.
Well, and that's to that point. If you knew, this is I know this is your interview, but I'm going to ask you, if you knew it was going to take 5 years to get success, however you define success,
Yeah.
would you have started it?
Well, see, here's the key with that is we started the podcast, my son and I, just to spend
Yeah,
time together. So we had no, anticipation or hope that it would actually
yeah.
go. We just wanted to spend time together. But then it started doing a little bit. And then I was like, oh, I think we could do something with this. So then is when it got a little, when I was doing it kind of as a hobby, no big deal. But when I got serious about it, then it got kind of like, ah. So to
Right.
answer that question, yes, but I would probably think a lot harder about it. I definitely would not go about it the same way we went about it, which was just kind of falling into it. I'd have been more
Well,
proactive and tried to actually get somewhere a little quicker.
and that's sort of the side hustle that people talk about now, right? And that's this is that lesson is kind of what I tried to distill into the book. And it's like, I made a lot of mistakes
Yeah.
as I was growing the company. And I two things. So I would prefer if you don't make the same mistakes I did, right? If you do make the same mistakes that I do, what I need you to do is recover quicker.
Right.
Um, and then if you're going to make mistakes anyways, but make different ones. Be a mistake innovator. Make different mistakes than the stupid
Right.
ones that I
Make your
made
own
at the
mistake.
time. Right? Exactly. Innovative, more creative and innovative ones.
Well, that's part of the reason for the book, right? Is to help people avoid some of those common pitfalls that most of us go through when we're starting a business.
Yep, yep. I think the other piece is, just get a sense as to, like, realistically, what does success look like?
Yeah.
And recognize, that this might be the amount of time that you want to spend on this. What does success look like? And then see if you can work backwards from that definition of what success is.
Yeah, I kind of like that. So you've got the image of what you're trying to get. It's almost like your goal setting. This is where I want to get to, and then you're kind of building the path to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I like that. I like that because a lot of times, you start something, and you're like, I just want to run my own business and make money. But that's basically the only thought you've. There's
right,
no,
right, right.
there's no
But
real
that's
goal. You're not trying to get anywhere. I just want to make money. That's usually the
right, right.
start.
And that's, it's so, again, with my technical background, I had no business acumen. So, you know, people would, sometimes people, try to raise money and they say like, who is your ideal customer? Everyone.
Right.
And that's not a good answer. Right?
No, you got to target a
And,
little bit.
they say, like, what is your use of proceeds? Right. We're going to, if we invest in you, what are you going to do with it? uh Sell more, right? Like just like
Right.
very not good answers. And so this, part of the thing was let's be really focused, right? Let's talk about things like a minimally viable product. uh, what problems does it solve? Whose problems does it solve? Will they pay to have these problems solved? You get this cross product of the ideal customer and then the minimally viable product. You put those together, figure out how to price it, how to go to market. um, and I think that one of the biggest things I probably would have done differently was understanding the sales process and that the
Right.
power that the founder has, right? Founder-led sales is this thing that when I'm talking to first-time founders, especially tech founders, they're generally pretty introverted, right?
Yes.
And they don't necessarily want to go do sales, right? They've created something that's their baby, and nobody loves your baby like you do, but your baby is without flaws, right? And so they if they're introverted, they don't want to go out and have to push the sales. Like, my baby's beautiful. Everyone should believe my baby is
Right.
beautiful. My door is going to be knocked down because people are knocking on it to get my
They're going to be
product,
drawn
right?
to this beautiful baby.
Yes, exactly. And so, that just doesn't happen. And so, part of my talk track usually is, you know, you might feel a little like that sales is not in your wheelhouse, and you feel that salespeople are greasy car salesmen, sort of stereotypes, right? I think I just say you need to get beyond that image, that stereotype.
Right.
um, and you need to be able to accept the fact that the best salesperson will be you, right? You can only best tell your story, right? And you have to be vulnerable because people are going to say no. You have to the superpower of founders, I say, is authenticity. That no one they're putting their life on the line, right? Literally
That's
putting their
right.
time and their money and their effort and their reputation on the line to push this offering, product or software, hardware, or whatever it is, consulting. um, and so the secret um, superpower of founder authenticity when you're making that sale is something that I came across after doing a lot of sort of booth babe things, right? Where I'm the one in the booth trying to get people at conferences.
Yep.
And I found the best line that I ever was able to use was, I'd see somebody walking by and they had a badge or a company I wanted to talk to. I'd say, "Excuse me, could I take 45 seconds and tell you about the company that I started?"
I like that.
Now, there's no other salesperson on that floor who could
Yep.
say that, right? And it would be a pretty hard-hearted person
Yeah, to
to
say, no,
say
I can give
no.
you a minute.
Like, we are exactly. But then you have to time box it, right? So you have to have your spiel in
You have your
really
elevator
tight.
pitch.
Exactly. That's not a very tall elevator, right? But nevertheless, that's not a tall building in that elevator. But that was the one thing. It's like founder authenticity. Even if you are so uncomfortable talking to people, it's the only way you're gonna be able to differentiate yourself from everyone else.
Yeah, I love
And
that, and I think that's helped us with the podcast because we we never tried to hide anything when we were learning. So we made so many mistakes early, and it was such a poor quality content. But we were very open about it. Hey, we're trying this out.
right, right,
we're see where we go. If we made a mistake, we're like, yeah, we screwed that up pretty bad, but here's what we're going to try to fix it. And we're just very open about it and
right.
let everybody see the behind the scenes, so to say. And I think it helped us. Eventually when we got better, at that point we were kind of growing an audience. people started rooting for us at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't
You
think
know,
there was
again,
any way these guys were going to get there, but here they are.
well, the thing is, so everything is so manufactured now, right? With Chat GPT and marketeering and things like this. And so it's difficult to find authentic quality, right?
Yeah.
That's not, you know, fashioned and just cleaned up and that has some of that raw actual human content behind it.
Yeah.
And so, you put yourself out, and that's vulnerable, and people could do whatever they want with the content. And so there's such value in that, being comfortable with your vulnerability,
That's right.
right?
Yeah,
And when you put it out there,
completely
you're
agree
not
with that
going.
because that's hard to do. Just putting yourself out there. And I've done a little bit of sales in my life, and it's difficult and it's hard because you're making yourself vulnerable immediately because you're asking for something. So it's difficult, and it's if you're an introvert, and I'm an introvert, that's tough for a lot of people, especially people that have never tried to sell anything.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
difficult.
exactly. It's funny. A few months ago, I had on the radio, I heard an interview with Salman Rushdie,
Yeah.
and he just had a book come out a few months ago, called, I think it was called Knife. So it's basically about him being
Yeah,
stabbed,
it's about him. Yeah,
right?
getting stabbed.
Yeah. And so I think it's his 28th book, if I remember. And so the interviewer was asking, so how, you've written 28 books, you are very well known in literary circles. What does it feel like to write your 28th book? And he said, I always feel exactly the same. I feel a little naked, right? Because it's out there. And the other piece is he says, I don't have 3 months, to let it circulate. On the book tours, and you're out there immediately. So he's like, I would prefer if people had a little time to dig into it and read it, but I don't really, but it's out there, right? It used to be in here, but now
Now
it's out
everybody
there.
can see it now.
Exactly that. And so when the book had not yet come out, but it was going through the process, like, oh yeah, I feel that. I feel that too.
Well, and
It's and it
it used to be that you weren't subjected to online criticism. We didn't have that. So your only real complaints may have come from your actual customers in person. But
right, right,
now it's so easy to put a review or to downvote somebody or something. And
right,
if you're
right.
not thick skinned, just one bad interaction can kind of ruin your whole mindset with stuff.
So I'm really lucky in that case because I'm not comfortable with praise, but I'm great with criticism. So I'm looking forward to that. I had some of that. There's a young man who read it in the last week, and I said, so first of all, what I prefer. He says it's really good. I said, okay, well, I prefer criticism and to praise. Like, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but nevertheless, I would prefer, like, what didn't you like about it? So
Right.
the first thing was, it's not for me, right? He's like the team lead of a innovation lab part,
Right.
right? He says, well, I'm not in your ideal client profile. He says, but having said that, first of all, it made me address the fact that because he had thought about starting a company before,
Right.
but decided not to for many reasons. He says, I feel better about my decision for not starting the company
You
after reading
reassured
it.
him that he made the right choice.
Exactly. Because it's hard, right? It takes, again, to the commitment, right? So and as he said, the second thing was, everyone who runs a product division should read this book. And I hadn't really thought about that as well. So if you're in charge of product management within a company, he suggested that they read this book as well. So,
Oh,
like,
that's pretty great.
it made me think about, William Gibson, said the street will find its own use for tools. And so I'm interested in seeing where this will ultimately connect with people that I had not considered of it before.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. It's has it been fun kind of now that it's out there, kind of getting the responses and seeing how it does, or is it a relief, or has it made it, more pressure on you?
It's I still have some trepidation. It's exciting. It's awkward. It's it's all of those things, right? It's kind of awkward, exciting, trepidation, um, all of that, right? It's very personal,
Yeah.
and so what is funny is I've read again so many books that look they could have been created in minutes by ChatGPT. And I said, I guarantee you this book, right? It's very personal and raw and not exaggerating, but it could not have been written by ChatGPT. And so I'm hoping that it's to first time founders or prospective first time founders, uh, they get a good idea of what it's like, that struggle, having to commit yourself to something for 5, 10, 15 plus years. And there's multiple meanings to commitment, right? So that was part of the play on words, right? So, committed to, being committed to your company and to your employees and your staff and your stakeholders and your clients. And then, people say you're crazy, you ought to be committed. Right. And that's the other, and because you have to be a little crazy to make that leap, right?
Yeah.
And so it was just sort of, I'm interested to see how many people actually read it, if they find value in it, if there's some solace in the struggle that nobody really wants to talk about, and sort of opening up that, once you're in it, uh, finding the strength to go on and recognizing that it's not all sunshine and good news, and to fight for every inch of progress that you make every single day, and that's considered success, right?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I think a lot of people miss starting a business is you're 100% behind it. It's your business. You're excited. Most of the time, it doesn't just affect you. So,
Oh yeah.
part of the pressure I think with starting a business is most people have a family, and that family is connected to the success of that business, and that puts a lot of pressure on people. And I think that just that aspect of it sometimes ends businesses, just because they weren't prepared for the difficulties in running a business while you have a family.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was interesting in my wife, she did the books for the first 10 years. So she kept us honest, right? And she kept
Yep.
us, cash flow positive. And that's like that's a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
But,
Big
to
piece.
be taught, she would come in once a week, and, I had a co-founder. And so that was, there's always disagreements. And you know, who do you like? That's an extra, aspect of stress, because, I have a certain, uh, fealty to my co-founder,
Right.
and I have a greater
That's right.
fealty
We know where your
bond.
number one loyalty lies.
Exactly. And so again, that's like those kind of personal interactions. It's you have to be prepared to do some juggling, right? To do
Yeah,
so.
having a partner, terrific, but also adds a degree of difficulty. Even in something smaller like this podcast with my son and I, we argue all the time over
Yeah.
marketing. We argued. It took us years to just settle on a numbering format that both of us could agree on. He wanted to number them one way. I wanted to do it a different way. We fought about that for several years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not sure either one of us got what we wanted. It just eventually we were far enough down the road. We're like, this is how it's going.
Well, that's the sign of a good compromise, right? Where all parties are equally
That's right.
unhappy.
I always say that. I'm nerdy, so I've been playing in a fantasy baseball league for 25 years. Same group of guys, and
Right.
that's that comes up all the time. in there. We discuss that all the time because it's the same concepts that you have in the business side.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, compromise and
you
setting expectations
you have
and all
to,
of
and
that.
we say that all the
Yeah.
time with trades in that because if you have a really good trade, both sides are unhappy with it.
Equally, yeah. Ideally, equally unhappy.
Yeah, you're just like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but business kind of like that if you have a partner because you have to make compromises. You have to make some concessions. It can't be everything one person's way. You have to
Right.
kind of, or it's not a good partnership.
No, no. And that's that's in business or in relationships outside of the business as well.
Have to. Well,
Yeah.
Eldon, thank you for taking some time. I think the book sounds terrific. I'm excited to dig through it and see what I can get out of it that will help us in what we're doing.
Oh, I think you're pretty successful. I don't know if you're going to find anything more exciting or interesting about it, right? But like I said, I'm hoping that there's a little bit, maybe, it'll, we didn't really go into what your definition of success is or where
Well,
you see
with
this
with
being in
me,
5 years.
I'm at that time in my life that a lot of my success is just happiness. I'm
Yeah,
doing something that I love to do. I'm working with my son. It gives it. I've got the freedom of working at home or in our studio if we want to. So
yeah,
there's ease to it and stuff. So a lot of my enjoyment comes from that instead of the financial. But there's definitely a financial component to
yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely.
You have to
Absolutely.
balance that stuff, because there's ways we could make more money, but I don't think we'd be as happy doing it. So you balance that stuff out. You got to make a little bit of money though.
Yep, yep. Cash, living is expensive. I tell my kid that all the time. Your living is surprisingly expensive.
Very expensive and
Um,
not getting cheaper.
no, 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 no chance of that of that going down that I could see. But so congratulations on the success of your endeavor.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So the book Committed: Startup Survival Tips and Uncommon Sense for First-Time Tech Founders. Where can we find that? Where can we buy it?
You should be able to get it anywhere that you buy your media.
Yeah.
I There's a very interesting sort of scenario that's happened. The if you go on Amazon right now, you might find that it's out of stock, and part of that was um, the pre-sales were so big that they ran out of the printed copies, so they're onto their third printing
I mean, that should make
before
you
it.
feel great.
It's a good. I've been told, right? It's a good problem to have. Um,
I mean, unless
but
your print run was like six.
no, no,
We've
it
sold
was
almost $20. We're on our
it
fourth
was
run.
it was about like in the end it was over 2,000, right? Just to get a
Yeah.
sense as to what that. And so
Yep.
before it came out of pre-sale, um, the that didn't count the bulk orders that came along with it as well. So it was sort of um, if it had been less successful, copies would have been out by now. And so it's like a sort of a good problem to have, I guess. But it's I've learned more about the publishing industry in the last year than I ever thought that I would. It's just some of the things that Amazon will do with their fulfillment centers, like printers, logistics, fulfillment centers. You know, it's the Kindle version has been locked and loaded for months,
Right.
but they wouldn't release that until the
So the
dead
book was ready.
the tattooed dead tree version is available.
Some of us
Right?
still like to hold that book in our hands.
I know I do.
I do too.
This backdrop of mine is not one I downloaded off the net. And so it's a good problem to have. Um, I think it surprised. I know you had Neil on a few weeks
Oh
ago,
yeah, yeah. I
right?
love
And
Neil. Yeah,
and
Neil's been
and so
on
I
a
think
couple times.
I think he was surprised at sort of the long tail, and so trying to figure out to get he's running his own sort of startup, right? The new
Yeah.
form of a method of publishing and on nonfiction, and so I'm pleased to be part of his sort of startup journey as well. And so
Well, he's
I'm
thrilled that you're with him because, yeah, he was glowingly talking about working with you and your book. So I was like, all right.
well, it's been really great. Yeah, learning from him and from the others at Sutherland House Experts. It's been again a really interesting learning experience and journey, and it's not over yet. It's as the books trickle out, it'll be interesting to see what impact it has, and um, just to get some authenticity in the entrepreneur, the sort of startup fake of the whole thing.
Right.
So I'm glad to be part of it.
Well, so any plans to write a sequel or just a different a book?
Oh, so about 2 weeks ago, Neil sent me an email, and the subject was book number two. Like, well, look, first of all, the book one has not come out, and I put everything I had into book one, and so like I need a little break. October was insane for me just for traveling and pumping it up and things like this as well. So it's like I've got to figure out um, if there's something more for me to talk about, what that would be, right? It was I was compelled, I felt, to write the first one.
Yeah, and that does
And so
make a
that
difference because
yeah.
you tend to write those a little quicker.
Well, so look, some people, they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and they write for 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever. They have their nice routine. I had none of that. I
Right.
would, I had notes of people that I was working with or thought about, and I'd put them on my iPhone, and then I would, if I had that day where it's like, okay, I feel like I'm up for it. Okay, 3,000 words, 4,000 words,
Right.
and just in big bursts, and then nothing for 2 weeks. And so like eventually there was enough time that passed that it came out. So I it's
No
it's funny
wrong
to
way
get the
to write,
quiz.
I guess.
Well, I think it worked for me. I said you like the Supremes said, you can't hurry love,
Right.
and you just have to wait. And it's a game of give and take. So you the so like it just I'm not in a rush to try to get that second one out, whatever it may or may not be. So it's a good question. I don't have a
Well,
good answer for it yet.
at some, and I asked because at some point I hope we can speak again.
Well, it would be a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, it's been terrific. So last thing though, Eldon, before I let you go, is where can we find you on social media?
LinkedIn. I do stuff on X a little bit. So I'm the Eldon on X. LinkedIn, I'm Eldon Sprickerhoff. There are not very many Eldon
That's right.
Sprickerhoffs
Now,
on
do you have a
LinkedIn.
website?
I don't have a website. This is the thing. I don't have a website. It's maybe one of these days. Like I'm
I was
very
gonna
low key
say,
about this.
I know
I'm very low.
it seems like you're techy enough. You could probably handle a website.
I could, I might just hard code in HTML my own website. Very, very 90s, like 1993
Yep.
HTML 2.0, just in a word. It's been it. I'm on Instagram, startup founder whisperer.
Oh, I like that.
It was, yeah, because I kept myself the founder whisperer,
Yeah,
sort of like
I like
the
that.
dog whisperer or the horse whisperer. Um, yeah, it's been very odd because it's just been the aside from a couple of LinkedIn posts and sort of word of mouth, and it's just gone crazy despite any kind of like serious heavy duty marketing media push. It's been very much sort of word of mouth, grassroots
That's the best kind.
piece. It's just the heat up, and so there's, hey, thank you for for being part of this, my sort of incipient, early stage, piece to it.
No,
Thank you.
I'm thrilled to be a small part of it, and thank you so much. I hope we can do it again, and good luck with the book. It sounds like it's already doing well, and I know it will. There's so many people out there that they've got the desire, they just don't know how to go about it. So hopefully this will help them out.
Well, thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay, hold on one second. I love talking to people that are passionate about what they do and that just have a good time. Just happy with what they're doing. Eldon definitely fits that bill. Very talented guy and very knowledgeable. So definitely would encourage you, especially if you're thinking about starting a business, to check out Committed Startup Survival Tips. I always have to look down. It's kind of a long title. Committed Startup Survival Tips and Uncommon Sense for First-Time Tech Founders. It's definitely worth your time. It'll help you, hopefully, to avoid a lot of the common pitfalls that most of us go through when we're trying to start something. So definitely give Eldon your support. It's out now. Thank you guys for tuning in with us again this week. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. It's free. Really helps us out. Our website's meistercon.com. You can find almost 900 episodes, audio and video versions on there. So please check us out there as well. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.